A lot of the folks that I work with struggle with getting buy-in for their transformation initiatives or whatever it is that they're actually working on and trying to roll out within the organization. Especially, particularly if you're trying to drive innovation, it's really tough to get people to buy in. And so I've spent some time thinking about exactly what it means to get buy-in, and given some of the experiences that I've had, really thinking about where the struggles around buy-in actually happen. And so this is just a short presentation to kind of show you my thinking around what it is to actually get buy-in. So let me get the slide deck rolling here. So I actually think that buy-in constitutes two things. And if you have one of those things and not the other, then you don't really have buy-in. Okay. So one of the most important things that you need to get buy-in is that people that you're trying to get to buy into your initiative have a positive view of what you're working on. So they accept it as a good thing for the company to do, but even more importantly, they accept it as something that's legitimate for the company to do. I think that's important. And then the other thing that you need is active participation, right? You need people to be either advocating for your initiative to others or actively contributing to its success by making small contributions or actually giving their time to the work that you're doing. Now, if you have one and not the other, you don't really have buy-in. And let me show you what I mean by that, right? Because when you have these two dimensions, then you can actually formulate a nice 2x2 that kind of shows you how this actually works. So if you have people that are low in evaluating your initiative, that they actually don't like it, and they also don't want to actively participate, you have what we call opponents. These are folks that are resisting the initiative, right? So, I mean, you could also, double click on this. You could have, passive resistance or active resistance, but still the measure is still the same, right? They don't positively evaluate your initiative as a good thing, and they don't want to actually actively participate. They're resisting actively contributing. Now, the other persona that's really interesting is a persona that I've described as prisoners. These are people that are actively participating in your initiative, maybe because they have to, because they're being forced to by their leadership, or they're just worried that they might lose their job, but they don't really like it. And the moment that they get any chance to walk away, they will actually take it. And we call these folks prisoners because they're just complying and they're kind of being forced to kind of play along. And so you can see what I already mean, that if you have one and not the other, you don't really have buy-in. So if you have active participation, but you don't have positive evaluation, you really don't have buy-in, right? And then here's another situation that's also interesting, and this usually happens with high-level leadership and execs. They're supporters, they endorse what you're working on, but they're not willing to actively contribute. So they won't put their neck on the line, they won't give you budgets or people, but they're like, yeah, fine, go ahead, right? And sometimes you think you have their backing until something happens, and then you suddenly learn that you don't have their backing. And so that's something to also pay attention to. Are these people just supporters, or are they really the final dimension, which is champions, right? So champions are really what you're looking for. These are the folks that buy in. They positively evaluate your initiative. They think it's a good and legitimate thing to do, and they want to actively contribute by advocating for it to others, or actually making an active contribution themselves. And when you have that, then you really have buy-in. And so it's really important when you're working on your initiative to have clarity on these things, right? So do I have buy-in, or do I just have people that are complying, or do I have people that are just endorsing, right? And then you can start to think about how to work with each one of those stakeholders to make sure that you're creating value. I just want to leave you with this thought, right? For every initiative that I've actually worked on, it's important that you're able to identify champions, particularly at the beginning. You want folks that like the work that you're doing and are willing to help you actually do the work. Because if you don't have any champions, if you don't have any early adopters, folks that are bought into what you're trying to do already, then it's really hard to get any leverage to get started.